Hello and welcome back to a sunny evening on the first day of autumn at the Dublo Railway, and we're staring at a Wren model, which I will explain in a moment. But I'm just going to pan along here. We've got Wren Duchess, the Duchess of Hamilton, a Hornby Dublo two-rail city in not great condition. As you can see, there's a little bit of corrosion on it, and the lining has seen better days. The mechanism is well worn, and the tender, I think, has seen better days. Now, behind that, by the way, this model goes. Behind that is Hornby 002 Rail West Country, Barnstaple. This has got a blown armature, and you'll see that the tender is not in perfect shape. Again, we'll come back to that because that's important in terms of this video, which is about converting cities and these West Countries to three rail if possible. This is a second Barnstaple. Smoke deflectors missing, armature blown, the tender somewhat abbreviated, I think you can see there. Now, in the background, what you can see is another Barnstaple. Now, this is sitting on a genuine Hornby 003 rail chassis. It's sitting on a Dorchester chassis. I bought this as you see it. So I didn't go out and find a chassis and plonk a body on it. It is as I bought it, at a considerable discount to a Dorchester, I might add. So today, what we're going to be looking at is some thoughts on how we get these things, once they're in running condition, to run on three rail rather than two. Again, with consideration for getting as many pickups as we can and doing as little violence as possible. I'm going to use this Wren Duchess as a way of explaining what I would do to this city, simply because I'm curious. This has never been taken apart. It's barely been run, and so it's got similar internal mechanisms to this. It's just an opportunity for me to take this apart and have a look at it. I've no intention of converting it to three rail. I think, however, that this old girl here is a good candidate, and so we'll get into that. We'll repair to the office, strip down a few of these things and have a good look at them. See you soon. Right, we've reached the relative calm of my office, and we're staring down upon the slightly disassembled Duchess of Hamilton. This, as far as I know, has never been taken apart. As I said, it's barely been run, but its internal structure, and indeed this casting, come from Hornby Dublo. It's one screw to remove this, a very simple procedure compared to the West Country. Now, I'll just line up my Hornby Dublo city. Very, very similar in every respect. Right, let's get to it. So, there's a long way and there's a short way of doing this. Let's deal with the short way quickly, and this will also apply to the West Countries. If you really want to, you can remove, I hope you can see that, there's a plate on the bottom of this which is easily removed. There are two screws here, and the casting for this is the same casting as for the three rail three-rail Dublo city, and there's a hole in the chassis here through which you can fit a standard three-rail pickup, such as you would find even on the bottom of an N2. They're in reasonably plentiful supply second-hand. I'm fairly certain that that they're available from parts dealers as well. So you can take this off and you can fit that, and then what you would do to make up for the loss of the pickups from this, and this wheel is, and I'll show you on this side, you could paint on some conductive paint just onto this little area here, and I'm told, although I haven't tried this, I'm told that that it's quite effective. So that's that, and basically you're running then. This connection is wired to the pickup here. It's a tiny bit of work to do that, and as I say, everything that you see here is as Dublo created it. It's just, in this case, a bit tidier. This was bought new in 1979. I'm pretty sure that when I bought it, it had barely been out of the box. It certainly hadn't been run. I've run it a tiny bit, and as you can see, it's in really great condition. This is not the sort of chassis that I would necessarily go to work on, although Duchess of Hamilton is a fairly inexpensive Wren model, and so one might be tempted. This is really the sort of thing that you want to be working on. The body's in poor shape. The mechanism is old and tired, and so there's some remedial work that can be done. But essentially, what I've just suggested can be done here. If you want conductive paint popped on there and camouflaged. I just don't know how effective that is in the long run. Now, if we're going about this the long way, we leave this on, and there's a bit of a problem rewiring it from here to here. So what I've decided I would do is I would simply undo this. Just take the solder off, and wire this into the chassis one way or another. You could simply solder it to the chassis, I think. And then, of course, if we do that, we don't have a third rail pickup on the chassis, so we have to start looking at the tender. Now, the tenders, and you can see how similar they are. This is the Wren, this is the Hornby. Sorry, I'll get that in focus. This is the Wren, this is the Hornby Dublo. Again, I don't really want to be messing around with this too much. What you will hear when I move that is that there's a weight in here. This tender is weighted. It's weighted from the factory. And the Hornby Dublo one is not. It's quite light. It's much lighter than, say, a Castle or an 8F's tender. But look, can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. There are some holes here, and I think it should be possible to fit plungers. And once those plungers are fitted, maybe a bit of weight could be added to this. And again, because this tender isn't in great shape, it should be possible to wire through. And in fact, if I take this little screw off. Just bear with me while I do this. Before I do that completely, I'll just get the light on it. You can see that there's a gap there. You can fit a wire through there. And that wire can be connected either permanently, or you can put a joiner in it. It can be connected to the motor in the back of this, because it's really easy. Again, you can see that it's really easy to access the motor. And if you want to be innovative with your wiring, and you want to do a bit of thinking about it, you can actually wire that pickup to let's see, you can probably run it, if you're careful, you can run it carefully through here and just wire it into this. Anything else takes a bit much work. But what you'll see is that on this tender there are some useful holes. You can put those to good use. You can get into this fairly easily. I'll take the whole thing apart, and you can have a good look. So the wheels and the little tin plate frame that they have holding them, they all come apart, and you can get in here. And it's metal, so it's possible just to glue in a weight or something like that. There's a lot that you can do with these. The plungers, as I've said, are available, and in the next part of the video I'm actually going to take a castle tender apart, and you can see how all the wiring is done. But there's enough space and so forth to wire everything up without very much violence being done at all. And basically that's the long way for a city. Now cities have the old vertical motor. We'll have a look in the next part of this video, along with the castle tender, just to show you how the wiring's done in here. We'll have a look at what happens with the West Countries, where you might have to do a little bit more to the tender. But as you will have seen at the start of this video, the tenders that I'm proposing to do some work on are not in good shape. So no tragic loss to the world. Anyway, we'll get there. I'll just tidy up here and get back to you with those. Righto, we're back, but this time with a series of West Country chassis. An original 3-rail ex-factory, 2-rail and 2-rail. Both of these have blown armatures. This is the replacement motor. It's a fairly easy job to swap over, and I've made it a little easier. This chassis here is a 2-rail chassis as God intended. It is as it left the factory. You'll notice that there's a little bit of something extra here. Because these things blow, or the armatures blow in these things with annoying regularity, principally due to overheating. There's a real problem with the 08 shunters. What I've taken to doing, with the help of a friend, is just putting a little connector in here, and so when I take this motor off, I just have to undo this pull the connector apart. We'll put a, or rather he will, put a connector on this, and it'll get plugged back in, taped up, and it's ready to run. Now, the thrust of this video is not about how many of these motors I have to replace and why they blow up all the time. As I said, this is an original three-rail chassis. There's connectivity on all of the 6 driving wheels here. The skate fits perfectly in there. The chassis on this one and the one behind it is exactly the same, but it's got this plate here, which you can choose to leave on, in which case it's a more difficult and involved job to turn this into a 3-rail locomotive, or you can try some conductive paint in here and see how that goes. I haven't tried it. I've seen, I think, one video where somebody did that. They had some success. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is leaving this in place and what we do about getting a third rail pickup. Now that involves the tender. So we'll just take these things out of the way, and you'll notice that or you may recall that I said something about a weight being in the city tender, the Wren city tender, and there not being a similar weight in the Hornby Dublo one. The tenders on cities are quite light. The tenders on West Countries are extremely light. I'll just switch this on, and we'll weigh this tender. So that's all the parts. 74 grams. It's quite light. And if you're going to go putting plungers on something like that, this thing bounces along the track as it is. It's fairly light. Now you compare that to the tender of a castle. I've got a castle's tender taken apart here. 184 grams. It's considerably weightier, and that ensures that that these plungers, which although they're lightly sprung, they do exert a force. It ensures that they're always in contact with the track. And the point, I guess, of taking this apart is just to show you the wiring arrangement in here. So there are these 2 little upstands here, cast into the frame here, and the plungers just fit in there, and they're wired up as you see. Now, 2 things to note. We'll get rid of the weighing machine. 2 things to note. First of all, we've got slightly less room on a West Countries tender. Not only is it lighter and it will have to be probably weighted, we've got slightly less room to work. We also have a casting that looks like this. So what we would have to do is we'd have to somehow, I don't think it's particularly difficult, just getting some little hollow sections for some little upstands here that we can attach a set of plungers to. Just glue those in, or if they're metal, solder them in if you're any good. I'm lousy at soldering. So the idea is that if you've got a tender or a pair of tenders such as I have, so here's one of my tenders. The paint's, it's not in good shape. It's had some breaks. It's been glued up. There's something on the back here. Same for this. This has seen better days, and these are the sort of things that allow you to play around a little bit. So what I'm saying is that a careful careful bit of drilling, the application of 2 round hollow sections here. You can pop some plungers in, and you can probably wire through the underneath of this and into the back of your West Country. And whether you put a clip connection that you can take apart, or whether you wire it in permanently, is kind of well, it's kind of your business. Anyway, so the likely locations for such an undertaking, we've got a locator. We can locate this sort of subframe on this little lug here. This is the screw that goes through and screws into the bottom of the tender. Where have I got my tender bottom? So yes, I have a tender bottom, it appears. Yeah, so here's the bottom of the tender. So that screws into there like that. So that leaves a space here and a space just to the north there, which it should be possible to drill through carefully, and then insert a pair of these. Now, I don't know how well the light catches it, but there's also a slight raised section here. So if you have something like a drill press or something like that, something that's very accurate at drilling, you could drill your hole through to the diameter of this and insert a single section through there, and then solder around. This is this is considerably involved, and this is really the only sort of thing. This is the sort of thing that I would only do where I've got tenders that look like this, and I've managed to pick up a cheap 2-rail West Country, in this case without even smoke deflectors, although the paintwork isn't in too bad a shape there. So that, I think, is how you do it if you're going the long way round for this. The short way round is, as I say, to where is there a 2-rail chassis? So the second pickup is on this side. So out with the conductive paint, and just see if you can get some across there and onto the end of the axle, and the same here and the same here. As I say, I don't know how well that does. It strikes me that it's possible that it could wear, because there's certainly a bit of play in the rods here, and they may well rub against this face. And even a small bit of paint, in here will raise this sufficiently for the play in this to rub. So it may be an ongoing process. Anyway, as I say, I've got 2 fairly rumpty 2-rail West Countries with blown armatures that are going to have some work done on them, and I guess it's the old case of hanging for a sheep as a lamb. If I'm going to get into this and do it, I might as well go the whole way. Probably, however, in terms of what I actually do, I think I'm going to work on the beaten up city of London first, because there's less involved in adapting the tender. I've got a 3-rail pickup all ready to go, and I might indeed use a combination of a tender pickup and some conductive paint on that. It'd be nice to have a three-rail City of London, no matter how rough it is. And I guess there are two reasons for doing this. I just want to finish on this point. There are two reasons for doing this. One is that the price differential between a two-rail and a three-rail version of these locomotives is really quite steep. You're looking in terms of Australian dollars. I live in Australia. I'm looking at $600 or $700 for a good example, and that might not put off some people, but it will put off a lot of people. This is a way, with a little bit of work and ingenuity, in which you can get three-rail running at a fraction of the price. And I come back to my mantra, which is, of course, that the more three-rail running there is out there, the better the world is. So take that as you will. I'll close this now. The next thing you'll see is my three-rail West Country with the body of a two-rail West Country on it, running round on the three-rail track quite happily, towing a bit of a load. They're not great. They're not great pullers, I find. It certainly doesn't like any sort of incline, and but it is a nice runner. It's a nice, quiet, smooth runner. I will give it that. Okay, so let's get to that, and I can tidy up my desk, which is looking like a West Country graveyard. Okay. Now I'm back at my desk again, and that's simply because I realized when I played back what I'd shot earlier that some of my comments about the underneath of this this tender were out of shot. So it screws together with a single screw, and there's a locating lug here. Now what that means is that if you're going to put plungers on this, they have to go here and here, and it's a tight fit. That's really all I wanted to say, but I think it's doable. I may get round to this sometime this year. As I said, the main project, I think, is to do something with that poor old city. Anyway, now the next thing that you will see is the three-rail West Country hauling a rake of coaches. I haven't decided what it will haul yet. Now, as if to confound my earlier abusive comments, you're about to see my three-rail West Country come past with a nice rake of blood and custard tin plate coaches, including a restaurant car, and it's pulling nicely. Can't say fairer than that. Going well. Thanks again for watching. See you next time. Bye.